3000.
What is doing? My name's Maloney. This is the 3000 podcast. I'm joined today by a rapper, the man himself, Craig. Thanks for coming, man.
Mate, Maloney, thanks for having me. It's C.R.A.I.G. Courage, respect, ambition, integrity, grind. People wondering what it stands for. Out the gate, I'll just clarify, it does not stand for cockhead reflecting Australia's insatiable greed, all right? I don't know where that came from. My mate Jason actually started that one, but no, look, yeah.
Craig, you're a very interesting man, and a lot of people have requested you come on, so I'm glad that you made the trek down here, man.
First I heard of it, mate. The people have been requesting this one.
Yeah.
Nice.
Some mutual friends of ours, some fans. You're building quite a buzz there, man.
Oh, fantastic. Good to hear. Melbourne's been very welcoming, actually.
Accommodating?
Yeah, accommodating, mate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Since the Carlson gig, so just rolling with the flow and seeing where it goes, mate, at this stage, yeah. Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about where you grew up, man. It wasn't in Melbourne, but how did you become a rap... Well, how would you even describe yourself? Let's do a brief history of C.R.A.I.G.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
All right, so I guess early 2000s at high school and that, and it's like 2000, 2001, suddenly everyone's into hip-hop, you know, and I got into it myself, and sort of like, I'd say the Perth scene was like, obviously we had Downside and Hunter, people doing real big things and making it, sort of pioneering it over there. And but all my mates rapped as well, and so I got into that pretty quickly. But yeah, just sort of, I guess, spent years toiling away at it, and eventually here we are. It took a long time for me to have a sort of a story to tell, I guess. What I'm saying is, because early on it was just like, yeah, I had my name, but I didn't have much to say, you know, and I was mainly listening to the US stuff.
Yep.
And so I was trying to, like, what was my angle, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And so it was just like, yeah, I eventually sort of found my angle with this album, Brief History of Bauxite. Not an angle, but a story to tell, and it's a front to back, you know, narrative arc. And I'm just going to roll with that and go with the next one. So, yeah.
That is an interesting point, because in the 2000s, mid-2000s, late 2000s, there was a lot of Aussie rap, Aussie hip-hop coming out.
Yeah.
But it was very same, wasn't it? A lot of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it opened the door for a lot of people, but there was a lot of same going on.
Yeah, mate. Look, it's a funny thing to say, but I'm not really an authority on Aussie hip-hop. It's like, when I discovered hip-hop, it was the beautiful thing was, and what I'm really grateful for was that people started doing it in Australia.
Yep.
With their voices, telling their story authentically. When I first discovered hip-hop, for the first sort of 5 years at least, there was so much American stuff, because it was already early 2000s, there was like a whole era of American stuff to discover, different coasts, different regions. So the fact that people were doing it in Australia and all my mates were doing it, that was really inspiring, and opened the door for us to have a go at it, or even know we could do it.
Yeah.
But I'm not a great historian of Aussie hip-hop, and I don't want to, but...
you want to tell your story?
No, I'm still learning. I'm sort of learning more about Aussie hip-hop through who I meet organically, you know what I mean?
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
You're learning it first-hand experience.
Yeah, that kind of thing. But obviously I know all the pioneers and that, and listen to their music, but... yeah, I know what you mean. Like, early on there was sort of like, maybe it was a backlash against, because, you know, people would go, oh, what's that rap crap, you know? Like, you know, that kind of attitude of like, how's an Australian going to rap, you know? So early on there was some sort of barbecue stuff, and it's brilliant, has its place. And I feel like now you turn on Aussie hip-hop, it could be anything. There's every subgenre exists here. There's every variation of it. It's really diverse and interesting, and so it's in a whole other chapter of it now, but...
Obviously, like you said, there was a scene in WA, but also it can be viewed to be a little bit behind the times from the East Coast.
It's just far away, mate, you know?
Yeah.
And there was that era when flights got cheaper, but early on it was like a 1,000 or, I don't know, it was expensive to fly over here. Yeah.
But does that then help cultivate a scene, because you've got more time to do your own thing and stay over there? Like, you're right, it's very East versus West, but when you talk to some people from the West, they go, we don't go over East. Like, that sort of mentality.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, no, I'd say we always respected what was happening over here, hugely. Like, we had the stealth magazines and that, and people reading that. And I would just say, like, in the southern suburbs of Perth, me and my mates didn't feel that connected to what was going on in Perth. That was a bit different.
Yep.
Obviously, it was influencing us in huge ways, and there were connections, but it was more like who we knew. Aussie rappers I knew were like mates or mates of mates or people you meet. Or maybe not your mates. Maybe you don't like them, but you know them and you meet them. And so, yeah.
Do you want to break down, for people that aren't familiar with Perth, what that geographical, you just mentioned south to Perth, what's that different? Is there a divide there?
No, I don't know. I don't know if it's the same as here. I know you got your north and your south here, and that's like a big cultural divide. I don't feel like it's a big cultural divide because you've got all sorts of people on both sides. But it's just geographically, if you live south of the river, then it's like the city seems like a bit of a trek, so you don't go there a whole lot. You go there for gigs or whatever, and you try and get your own thing going. But it's pretty quiet. Like, what's this, Dramana?
Yeah.
Maybe there's pockets that are a bit, you know, if you're going towards, this reminds me of like a Mandurah or something, you know, Frankston or, you know, getting a bit, got their own sort of, it's almost another city.
Yeah, almost. The funny thing about Melbourne is, man, you can go all the way down to the fucking right at the end of the peninsula, and that's still technically metropolitan Melbourne, which is crazy.
Yeah, right.
We're considered to be still metropolitan Melbourne, even though you've got to drive an hour down here.
Yeah, right, okay.
It's different.
Yeah, it's different, yeah.
And so in Perth, were you doing the whole sort of hip-hop elements? Are you doing some graffiti stuff? Are you doing some...
Wasn't for me, graffiti. I didn't really engage with it, mate, to be honest. Like, it's definitely a strong scene there. Like, I feel like it's more tags, probably.
Yeah. There's less train lines.
Yeah, I'm not an authority on graffiti. Have mates that are into it, mates that are still into it, and that are over here doing it. Obviously respect it, but mate, it just wasn't. I didn't gravitate towards it. I'm fascinated by word. I mean, graffiti is about words, but the lyrics is what grabbed me about hip hop. So I've always loved words, even as a kid. Just like I love reading. I'd read anything, you know. Like I would read. Remember Lord of the Rings, I read because it was like, my mate was like, that's the biggest book that exists. So I was like, okay, I'm fucking reading that. I'm fucking reading that. I read that in a few months. But then I'd read like the footy record. I love the footy. So I'd have a tray at school full of the $2 footy records from the games. Yeah. Or an autobiography of Crackers Keenan, mate, who I think he was a Collingwood player turned commentator or something. Yeah. Way before my time. But I would just read anything I could. Yeah. I love stories. I love words, comics, whatever. So by the time I found sort of hip hop, it was like the words, that's what I clicked in with. Yeah. It's all about the lyrics, and I could listen to any, if it was commercial or like underground as it gets, like I appreciated it all because I love the wordplay.
And there's obviously some influence with some spoken word stuff as well there, as you know.
Spoken word, that's interesting. What do you mean by that?
Like spoken word, just like sort of, I think of someone like Mike Skinner and the Streets. Okay. Right, so that some of his songs don't sound amazing, but artistically and the spoken word aspect of it, it's just narrative storytelling to a beat. You know what I mean?
I gotcha, yeah. I wouldn't say he was an influence. I heard, what's his album, A Ground Don't Come For Free? That's incredible. I listened to that once, like all the way through when I was like washing dishes at some restaurant. And I was like, that blew my mind. Yeah. Spoken word, I don't know, but I always like comedy and stuff, and like, not that I'd call my music comedy, it's documentary really, but serious kind of tales. But yeah, I like, do you know The Late Show? Yeah. So Mick Malloy, Tony Martin, Working Dog, like all that frontline stuff that went on to make The Castle and all that. I loved grassroots Aussie stuff that were like doing stuff in their own way.
For sure.
So yeah.
There was a real golden era of Aussie comedies around that time, which I feel like after it got to the late 90s, it just fucking all went to shit. But there was in the early 80s, late 80s, early 90s, there was some really good stuff. And once it got to a little bit later, then that Aussie comedy kind of went a bit crap.
Yeah, I don't know. Something about like just getting the camera, doing it with no budget, doing it just like the full passion of it, grassroots, is what I love. Like I used to watch that. I had like the best. My uncle gave me like the best bits of The Late Show, and they're Melbourne icons. Those guys. So like, I just watch that front to back all the time. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Frontline is like Wilfred. That was in the 2000s, but I loved all that stuff. I think there's a lot of great Aussie comedy. I
And that
feel
was
like the strength is like you need the sort of like the fundamentals of it, you know. You can have a cheap camera, but you need a good story. You need that all in place. Some stuff I see with high production, but there's like the story's not really there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, Frontline was a little bit ahead of its time with its mockumentary style and stuff as well, man, for sure.
Oh, real?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you look at something like The Office afterwards, it's
Yeah.
sort of just picking up where they left off.
Yeah, huge fan of The Office. Huge
Yeah.
fan of David Brent.
Yeah.
As a man. Yeah.
As a bloke.
Mate, yeah, he has something about it. He has this quote in The Office, and it's like a what's it called, an outtake.
Yeah.
And he's talking about, you should never make the mistake of the laughter of hate. And then he cracks up. Ricky Gervais cracks up, you know, because he's like, and how funny that is to him. But I actually always took that on board. Like, I think that's something about that. Even though it was a joke, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I love how some people can say some throwaway lines that he probably doesn't remember, but that resonated with you.
It resonated with me because I feel like if you're having a laugh, it doesn't have to turn venomous or nasty. You know what I mean? And yeah, so I thought that was a humanising. I took a lot from that quote. Yeah. But
It is, but it's an interesting time now. Like Ricky Gervais is definitely someone who is pretty outspoken to say that you can't make jokes about shit anymore because we live in such a time where everyone's easily offended, you know?
Yeah, it's a funny one because I was a big fan of The Office, but Afterlife, it's funny, I got a song called Afterlife, but that actual show, Afterlife, I couldn't.
Too dark.
I didn't like it at all. I didn't think it was quality. I got through about 1 episode, 2 episodes, and I don't know, felt hollow to me. I needed to feel something real to it, and I didn't feel it.
You didn't feel it.
But yeah, I don't know. What do you reckon?
Oh, man, I haven't seen that one. Look, I've watched The Office. I'm a huge fan of... I think Ricky Gervais is probably the best stand-up comedy comic of all time.
Wow.
I think his... And they're like lectures, man. Sometimes you're not even sure where the jokes start and end. But
I liked Animals. Animals was good.
Animals was
early on.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What about Carl Pilkington?
Carl Pilkington, mate, never quite got my head around it. I liked, Idiot Abroad?
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, someone said, yeah, man, I could do that. I wouldn't mind doing that. Craig Abroad. I think we could do that, mate. Put the money up. Let's do it. Yeah. Maybe we could have Carlson and yourself in the studio kind of breaking it down or something.
Yeah. Carlson. So, well, you've mentioned Carlson. So, how did you get onto his radar? How did you guys start working together?
Carlson. So, you might have heard on that skit. Well, not a skit. It was it turned into a skit. It was a voicemail I sent to Carlson about that gig that we did this year at the Northcote Social Club.
Yep.
It was a huge success, by the way, and a lot of fun. So shout out to Carlson. He's done a lot to breathe life into my career as a live artist, live act. But so last year I got the tour shirt in my bag. I could pull out later. But sometime last year on the Brief History of Bauxite World Tour, I was in. Long story short, I'd been booked for Rod Laver Arena.
Yeah.
Landed at the airport, and the promoter picks us up from the airport, and we're driving out. I'm like, it's a fucking pretty long drive, and he's, or whatever it was, and I'm like, I was like, pretty stoked about Rod Laver Arena. Didn't think I could book it, you know, and at such short notice. And he said, Rod Laver Arena, mate, you're playing at Rod's house in Laverton. You know, he calls it an arena at times when he's on his getting more grandiose about it. It basically has got a glorified home theatre set up where he screens the UFC, you know, and blokes come around, get on the piss and watch the UFC. And I don't even like the UFC, mate. I mean, I respect the art form; it's a whole discipline, but it's a bit barbaric, mate, you know. Yeah. And anyway, so I'm standing there. I'm like, so what's going on? I'm playing my gig at this screening of the UFC, and he's like, yeah, well, you'll see. So I rock up, and he's got it. You know, I'm in front of the fucking huge TV, and I'm running through doing my whole album front to back, which I do on my shows. And mate, they got the TV cranked, so it's just the fight commentary, you know, and the like. And I'm like, mate, people can't hear my lyrics, and there's all these dudes standing there. They're not even looking at me. They're trying to look past me. Like I'm in the way of the telly. I'm like, what's going on here? This promoter's like, if you could call him a promoter, he's shoehorned 2 events into one, like double booked or something. I said, mate, if you're gonna, I get it, mate. Like, it's a big fight or whatever. People got money on it. crank the volume up, but maybe I could do my show after, or it's just a scheduling conflict, mate. So anyway, I'm trying to, and then people start to react and shout and scream and like, you know, one dude even threw a bottle in my direction. I was like, what's going on? But they weren't reacting in time with my lyrics, mate. And I realised it was just a fight, you know? Yeah. The dude they all had money on was getting pummeled behind me. And how can I compete with that? But Carlson was actually there for my gig.
Right.
So he'd heard my album and he was interested in it. I'm not sure if he was a fan or whatnot, but he was interested in checking it out. Yeah. I don't think he's too into the UFC, but he was there. And I was like, this one dude's actually listening. So after that whole, you know, charade was over.
Did you get paid?
I got paid, but it wasn't Rod Laver Arena money. It was Rod's Arena and Laverton money, you know? Yeah, yeah. You know what I mean? But he put me up for the night and whatnot. It's all good. But
you met
so
Carlson.
Where was he? Carlson. Yeah, sorry, Carlson. So I met Carlson through that, and he was like, yeah, show was all right. Like, I reckon you could do it. We could do it in a different way. And I was like, yeah, I fucking hope we could, mate. Turn the telly off. So we ended up with this show like early in the year. Like he messaged me and he's like, come over for this show in May at Northcote Social Club. It's one of the premier venues for, you know, underground music or whatever. I was like, yeah, brilliant. So it was a chance to make amends and I opened that show, but it was a fucking great turnout, mate, you know, a lot better than last year. People all knowing the lyrics, chanting along, and to be honest, I didn't know the Melbourne listenership was that into it.
And so Melbourne turns out to be your biggest fan base, you reckon?
When I look at the stats, it's doing well over here, mate.
Globally? Yeah. Is that all across the globe?
Globally, I blew up recently in Argentina, the US and Canada, but I'm attributing that to foul play. That's bots, you know? And I'm on the case. That's why I say it openly, mate. I don't want bots. If you're a bot, I don't want you as a fan. Yeah. I want flesh and blood real humans, you know? Because there's something, bots, they don't help your career, mate. They juice your numbers up for whatever. I haven't paid for that, by the way, you know?
So who is?
Because I wouldn't be talking about it openly if I had. I don't know. I don't know why. It's a rot, mate. Somehow the streaming companies or someone's paying for these bots to like, I don't have any Spanish lyrics. No one in Argentina is listening to my music. I'll say that with confidence, you know? Maybe with the Chinese translation of Brief History of Bauxite, which is coming out in the next few months. Right. If I see those numbers in mainland China, you know, start to boost up, then I'll believe it. But at this, I know I don't have Argentinian fans, mate. Yeah. But who knows? Maybe I do. Because you see those comments like "Come to Brazil." That's a meme at this point, you know. You know, like whatever band it is, you know, when you're playing in Brazil. So maybe I do because it is visceral music. But. Yeah. Carlson, anyway, where was I? Carlson. Carlson, I love our Carlson, mate. We've clashed a bit because he's on this. He's like, he's a bit of a communist or whatever. Yeah, I'm not sure if he calls himself that, but
calls himself the people's poet.
The people's poet. He is the people's poet. He's pretty left wing and so we've clashed on a few things, but I'm kind of left wing in a way myself, mate. But I'm sort of finding my way. Trying to make sense of the world, but he's just not that. He's sort of against money, but I'm into money. Yeah. So we've sort of like we clash ideologically at stages, but on a human level, we've really you know bonded doing that show, and I've done radio with him and kicked it with him, and I like the guy a lot. Yeah. So, yeah.
More collaborations shows coming up.
I'd love to do that. I'd love to do a song with him. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So more power to Carlson. He's got an album coming out in a few months, which I'm really looking forward to. Kick-Ons, that's my favourite Al Carlson track. Okay. Yeah.
He does. Yeah. You don't like capo dogs?
Oh, I love it, but until I realised what a capo was.
All of a sudden it had a different meaning.
Like, it's a capitalist, mate. I was like, all right, okay. But nah, look, I love Carlson, mate, and look forward to working more with him again. Yeah.
Man, when he came on this show, he's like, you got to get C.R.A.I.G on. You've got to get him on, and he championed you, right? Mate. And that was it. And then after that, I'm like, put it out there, and the fans just kept asking.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, there we go. Yeah.
So, with or without Carlson, are you looking at doing some more shows in Melbourne?
Absolutely. I'm flanked here by the commissioner, Louis Marlowe, who put out my record on a Melbourne label last year. Yep. So my vinyl. He's got the non-exclusive, what do we call it?
The non-exclusive?
Yeah, he's got the non-exclusive Australasian vinyl rights to my album, Brief History of Bauxite, which is a copy for you, Maloney.
Oh, thanks, man.
And I'll sign that later. It's got a certificate of authentication.
Oh, cheers.
So you know.
Yeah, so I know it's legit.
Yeah, no, it's legit. Some of them don't have that certificate. They're still legit. But,
They're
but, yeah,
still legit.
they're still legit, but I'll just have to like chase them up and give them their certificates at some point because not all of them got shipped out.
Really?
Yeah.
So what, was it a big pressing?
I think we did. What did we do? 200,000, I think.
200K?
Was it 200,000, Louis?
Yeah.
200K in the region of 200K. It was either that or 200. And when I looked at the numbers, like it can't have been 200.
Yeah.
But we basically sold out more or less, getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
It's not easy to sell 200,000 physical records these days, mate. It's quite an achievement.
Yeah.
Would have been a pittance, 20 years ago, but yeah.
Yeah. Many of those been shipped over to Argentina?
None, mate. That's why I'm sus on all these numbers. Yeah. So, yeah.
For a debut release, so you're pretty happy with the numbers?
I'm very happy with the numbers. But it's not about the numbers. It's like when you do the live show, what it's about for me, what I didn't until I realised. I thought it was about the numbers, but then when you see someone singing your words back to you,
Yeah.
like that's nice.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, because they've listened. There's that much music getting pumped out,
Yeah.
Who can keep up with it all? So if someone's listened to it, learnt some words.
That is, man.
Yeah.
You've engaged somebody, and then when you put the next record out, you think that if they're at the gig singing the words, they're going to be pretty likely to pick up your next record. You might sell 400,000.
Sky's the limit, Louis. That's it. No, that's it. Because there's so much music coming out that like I don't even keep up with hardly any of it.
You can't.
And so like,
Yeah. That's the thing, man. With the internet and with technology, there's a lot of music being made, but there's a lot of shit out there. You got to wade through the shit, Craig.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Like, what do you reckon? Like, one thing I feel. Because I want to talk about your love of music. Because you're a DJ, I know that.
Yes.
You're a hip hop DJ.
Well, yeah, I was a little bit for a while.
Yeah.
Since I moved down here, I've stepped back and I've got other business ventures. But yes, I was for a good part of my life.
So if we're like, it's a funny thing about you're getting older. Like I'm in my late 30s, mate. Don't age me out of the game yet, but. You like your favourite MCs and they kind of stay what they are, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And even though you appreciate new stuff a lot, I fully do, but then so sometimes you think like, is rapping, is it getting better or is it not? Maybe that's purely a subjective question, mate, because there is incredible talent coming out, but
for sure.
I feel like it's just very different because it's so easy to record now that people will record the first song they ever write. And shoot a video for it and put it up there. And maybe in 5 years, they'll be like, oh, that's my first song. But I guess they grow in the spotlight or they grow with an audience and it's not better or worse. It's just different.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I sort of stopped myself from criticizing them just then. But I just realized it's just different because like 10, 20 years ago, I guess not 10, I guess 20, 15 years ago, it was more like, you work on it for a long time before you even meet someone who's got a microphone. Mm-hmm. Then it turns out they can barely record you anyway. It doesn't work or whatever, or you don't know anyone that makes beats. But you're sort of working on it to where the point where you start to record, you've already sort of developed a bit.
Yeah, it's a slower learning curve.
I think so. Yeah.
So a friend of mine who's in the music business, not in hip-hop, but in the rock game, and he said you've got 20 years to write your first record, but you've got 12 months to write your second one.
There you go.
Yeah. And that I think is fucking pretty spot on because you can put your life and times into that. But then once you blow up, you got a big release, the fans want more. You've got 12 months to get that out there. You've got to strike while the iron's hot, man.
Tell me about it, mate. Fucking
You got the second album. Is it coming along?
I got the title, all right?
Can you give us an exclusive?
I'm gonna give you I'm gonna make it a bit more fun. I'm gonna say the title of my second album is mentioned on my first album.
Right, there's a lot of words on there.
There's a few words on there. There's a few words, mate. Most songs are kind of 3 verses, and then you got sort of 7-minute outros where I'm ranting and raving. So yeah, but I feel like if you're listening to it with that in mind, it'll appear to you. Yeah.
So it's sort of
two words.
Two
words on my first album.
Okay.
On my second album. So picking up where the story left off, which is, I'm not on the mines anymore. My uncle's disappeared, although he's still alive and makes contact every now and again. But Not on the minds anymore. Sort of blown up off the success of the first album, obviously the acclaim, the arias, all that.
Yeah.
Selling all
World tours.
world tours and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And but now it's like, who am I? You know, so it's like floating through, you know, modern Australia, post-pandemic, like who am I kind of situation. And so
Dealing with the success,
dealing with the success and the identity kind of thing of all that. That's what it
fame,
is.
fortune.
Yeah, so I don't know if you heard my track Pitfalls, like put out about a year ago. That track was my first one, sort of dealing with all that. Sort of just like, because I think I've grown a lot, like sort of on all sorts of levels in the last few years, and that was kind of like grappling with that. Yeah.
Maturity.
Maturity, introspection, sort of trying to just chisel away at all the crap and get to the core of yourself, you know? Yeah.
How do you deal with the fans now that you're a pretty big deal?
Oh, mate, how do I deal with the fans? No, I love and appreciate them. Yeah. It's always appreciation because I remember the days when there weren't fans, mate. You know, I had Courage, Respect, Ambition, Integrity, Grind mixtape series, volume 1 through to about 14. I think I got to just no acclaim whatsoever, to no fans, not just no fans, but open hostility, open disinterest, mate. You know, like I couldn't get a gig, I couldn't get someone to take a free CD, I couldn't get, you know. Yeah. So the fact you got someone as like, you know, all those years freestyling on the lean back instrumental, freestyling on the Wankster instrumental, mate. You know. Finally, making my own production, putting my own thing out. People like it. People sort of connect with it. You can't turn your back on that. You got to appreciate that.
Yeah, you got to appreciate it. But and also, man, you don't want to forget where you've come from.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, you got to stay true.
So you reckon revisit the Wankster instrumental?
Potentially, that could be a B-side on. So, yeah.
The thing is now with the algorithms just picks up so immediately if you're trying to. Because I've tried to put a few in recent times. I did a Skylab special last year, Skylab Radio, which turned out really great. Initially, I thought it was Sky News or Sky Network, and I was like, oh, wow, that's a big look. Turned out not to be that at all. It's a sort of alternative Melbourne sort of underground radio station cafe thing. But I did a full 2-hour special for them, put a freestyle on it, you know, talked a lot as I do, played a lot of music I love, and I tried to put that up onto YouTube, that recording, and it just immediately says, oh, you've used, you know, it picks up on all these jacked instrumentals, and it's like, well, we can't even, I don't know, can you put a mixtape out anymore?
You can, but whoever the instrumentals belong to, they're going to take all the revenue. And if you're getting hundreds of millions of streams, man, then someone else is making bank off that.
Yeah. But this one wouldn't even let me in this instance. Right. So it was like the record label blocked it before it even. And I'm like, mate, you haven't heard C.R.A.I.G. You haven't lived until you've heard C.R.A.I.G. on the Fish instrumental, mate. Ghostface, you know, Ghostface Iron Man. Anyway.
Are we gonna hear you rap today?
Yeah, a little bit later. Yeah, for sure, mate. Let's get into it. But yeah, what's going on with you, mate? What are you listening to these days? I like to flip it back on the.
You
on
do,
the
yeah. I appreciate.
What have you been listening to?
I listened to your album yesterday a couple of times.
You said 3 times, mate.
3 times.
I was wrapped at that.
Listened to it 3 times.
That's
yesterday.
That's about got to be 85 cents coming in the bank.
It's going to
through
be
Spotify.
Big bucks. Yeah. But now I can listen to it on my record player, which will be cool. So
out on Felt Sense Recordings, another plug.
Yeah,
the Commissioner Louis Marlowe. That's pressed in Melbourne at, where was that pressed? Program Records. Good pressing.
Any other label mates on that label that you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, for sure. We've got Louis Marlowe, the Commissioner himself, making fantastic electronic music. He's got stuff about to come out. We've got his partner Ella Stiles, pop singer, absolutely brilliant. Jay McFarlane's Reality Guest. They're a great band. Repton. Angel, it's an interesting one because it's a very avant-garde kind of label that it goes in all directions. But Louis, the Commissioner Louis Marlowe himself has his roots deep in sort of hip hop, all sorts of hip hop, underground, Melbourne stuff.
Group of artists there, though.
Yeah, he's sort of cut from that cloth, but he's got tastes that go in all directions, and so he somehow heard my record. So the label dinners are a little bit interesting, mate, because you got all these sort of different. It's good in a way because I'm not competing with other MCs, you know what I mean? So it's like I go to a label dinner, you know, rub shoulders, you know, shoot the breeze and
that sort of thing. Do you feel now that you are a pretty big deal in the hip hop scene? Are people trying to battle you, coming for you now, questioning you?
I haven't really experienced that, mate. I've felt only positivity, mate. You know, people reaching out, wanting to collab and that. And I do want to collab. It's just, to be honest, I don't write that much, mate. You know, like, I don't know. I guess it's like it's similar to when I'm listening to music. Like my favorite hip hop songs are ones. If I had a number on how many times I've heard them, it's probably in the thousands. Like, I'll just play them endlessly and get something out of it each time. And that's sort of how I write music. So I don't ever write a verse. I won't get past the first line unless I'm like completely excited about it, inspired by it, and that'll carry me to the next line. So I don't write that many verses. But once I get going, if I get going, it's one I'm going to finish, and it's one that's like means a lot to me.
For sure.
So collabs, like I always say yes, which is my mistake. Like, yeah, fucking oath, let's do it. I don't necessarily have the verse for it, you know. So hopefully we can hit a stage, yeah.
When you're writing projects like you are, and
Yeah.
they do have a start, middle, end sort of narrative, do you write the songs in that order?
Nah, it kind of comes together as it comes, because it's also I'm making the beats, and sometimes I'll have the song written, but it's not quite on the right beat yet. And then it sort of happens in a chaotic order like that. And then it sort of, at the last minute, it all makes sense, you know what I mean?
Falls into place.
In terms of like, I'm ending on this song, but I've tried it on this beat and it never worked. But then you got this one other beat that you had nothing for, and you're like, oh, suddenly one day you try it and you realize it works perfectly.
Just got to switch them up.
Like the song A Christmas Carol, like, yeah, it is, mate, A Christmas Carol I recorded for like, I remember a mate rang me and I was like, mate, I've been rapping for 2 days. It wasn't exaggeration. I was hoarse, my voice was gone, and it was just like, it wasn't working on the beat I had. And I was like, I've got to fucking do this song, and it wasn't working. Next day I chucked on one I'd had in the bank for months, and it was perfect. The tempo, the pocket of it, you know? And then had to channel that sort of like the moment when I landed on the helicopter, charter helicopter, landed on the stage, crashed the Christmas party. It sounds, in the moment, I'm so on fire, it sounds like a live recording of the event. People might be disappointed or shocked to realize it was a recreation of the event. But I channeled it because the beat was right. So like I find like it's all about the beat. Yeah. To an extent, like I'll write without a beat too, but if the beat's not right for the song's not getting made.
So are you only going to work with your beats? What if big time producers are coming sending you beats now?
That could be cool. I'd be open to it, but something about it like it's plenty. I love production, mate. Like, and it took me a while to get my beats to a level where I was like, yeah. And I don't know, something about working with your own beats just kind of works. And I love making beats as well. It's part of it to me. It's like an equal 50-50 part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And are you always digging for samples and stuff?
Look, mate, I know this is getting filmed and recorded, so you know it should be candid. But I got to sort of like cover my ass and say what I said on the Skylab special, which was I only sample from the Low Grade Ore Entertainment house band, right? Low Grade Ore Entertainment being my label, and got a bunch of back in Perth we got Whopper, so I got a bunch of old jazz musos that were like they play fusion and all that, and some of them went to Whopper, some of them are just old pissheads, but. I'll buy them, a carton of beer and a few pizzas, every few months or once a year or whatever it is. When the timing's right, and I'll say, I got a studio out there, so I'll go nuts, do your thing. They'll record for a few hours, and I'll come back through and sample that. But having said that, if I were to sample, that's true, but I'm just saying that also to cover my ass. But if I were to sample, big if, all you lawyers listening, all your algorithms and bots out there, mate. If I were to sample, that's a big if, it would be probably like, jazz fusion stuff, sort of 70s, 80s, Yeah, I just like, you can find really interesting pockets because you got like the best musicians in the world recording on incredible, technology inspired, and you find really interesting little pockets in there.
For sure.
If I were to.
If you were.
Yeah, it's just a Low Grade Ore Entertainment house band, royalty free, whatever.
Right. Yeah, you got to cover yourself.
And they'd be destitute if I wasn't, helping them out.
So you're literally propping them up.
Yeah, throw them a few scraps and they get to work. There's people that are dying for their art, mate. As we were talking in the car,
Yeah.
I don't want to be one of those people, but they're happy to be that.
Yeah. So you're permanently in Melbourne now?
I don't know. Nothing's permanent. Life's not permanent.
Right.
Only impermanence exists. But since this show in May, it was a good time. And look, not just that, I've had opportunities in Melbourne that's made me want to stick around, like meeting Louis, the Commissioner Marlowe, our Carlson, these two blokes, and there will be more, but these two at this stage have really breathed new life into what I'm doing. And I feel like I like the city. It's an exciting place, mate, being from a small town, being from out west.
Do you get homesick?
I don't, mate, to be honest. I do, like when I'm back, I love visiting Perth. I love being in WA, but there's a vibrancy and a sort of a buzz about this place. I don't know if you still feel that. You lived here your whole life?
I lived in Melbourne my whole life.
Yeah.
I lived in the St Kilda South Side my whole
Yeah.
life.
Saints fan?
No, I'm a Collingwood fan.
Okay.
But yeah, no. And I've lived there my whole life, and my family was South Melbourne. So where we grew up, sort of Port Melbourne, St Kilda.
Yeah. I've been out there.
You were South Melbourne until they went to fucking
Sydney.
Sydney
Yeah.
in the early 80s. And then when
Yeah.
they went to Sydney, you either kept going for them or you got the
Yeah, how
shits.
many people followed them up to Sydney or like kept
My
going for them?
nan still goes for them.
All
A lot
right,
of people
yeah,
we grew
yeah.
up with in that area still go for South Melbourne. But
Yeah.
I jumped ship because I was only 2 years old or whatever.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
I went for the Pies, man.
Yeah, okay.
And now I'm missing a couple of teeth and I've got lots of tattoos. So I just felt like it was,
Nah,
it was where I was supposed to
stereotypes,
be.
mate, and we don't play into that, all right? We
We
don't play
don't,
into
no.
that. Congratulations on your flag last year.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
That's it.
Fell off this year, but it happens.
Yeah, I know. So we're in Perth. So you were, I'm guessing, growing up, you're a one team town, and then all of
Yeah.
a sudden, fucking Fremantle come along.
Yeah, and I'm a Dockers fan. I
Yeah?
am. Yeah, but you're right. So, like, Eagles had a stronghold on the early... They came out the gate strong. 92 and 94.
92, I think.
92 and 94, they lost 91. So, like, 94, I remember I was, like, 8 years old or whatever, and they beat Geelong. They thrashed Geelong, I'm pretty sure, in the grand final. I was like, wow. You know, there's times when you're a kid and you're like, oh, perfect. They're from WA. They won. It was glory. Glenn Jakovic, Peter Sumich, all that. But then the next year, Freo Dockers came out, and I was immediately on that.
Was there
And that-
backlash from people jumping ship?
I would say, like, for a 7 or 8 year old, you don't get much backlash from that. But probably it was a bit to negotiate. Like, I've had relatives that go for either or, but relatives that have jumped ship for various reasons. Some people do just because they feel the club culture or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Because Fremantle sort of was born from South Fremantle. There kind of was a club there.
Yeah.
Where the West Coast Eagles was sort of manufactured, wasn't it? They just
yeah,
sort
I
of,
guess so. I don't know the full history. Your mate's right into that, Chaz. He's into the footy history. I was speaking. I find it interesting when, like, a team. Yeah, you got your WA team, so you go the whole coast. WA's it's a big coast.
Big coast.
But so you go all inclusive, but then something about naming it after a specific place. But I felt like that about the Giants as well in Sydney. But talking footy, let's go back to music, mate.
Let's
Come
go back
on.
to
Yeah,
music.
yeah.
Speaking of the WA being a big coast.
I don't want to talk about footy at all after Sunday, mate. It was a shocker.
Sunday.
Yeah,
was
no,
it-
we bowed out disgracefully.
Who did you go for?
No finals for Freo.
Oh, Freo. Yeah, you
yeah.
did. That was the last game of the round.
That was a shocker. Pies aren't playing anymore.
No.
Let's get off the topic.
Footy's finished.
Yeah, no, sports rubbish, mate.
Sports rubbish. Have you been? We've figured out you've got a big fan base here in Melbourne.
Yeah.
WA, have they embraced you? Are you a bit of a hometown
Oh, I
hero?
did I wouldn't say I'm a hometown hero. Look, I'd like to be. I'd like nothing more than that. But we did have a successful show back a few months ago, mate. You know, G&H, crew from over there, Rubik's, they're doing their thing, split figure.
Met them Record Store Day.
Oh, you met him? Oh,
I had
yeah,
those
nice
guys.
one.
They did a quick 10-minute interview on the show.
Oh, is that what it was for? Ah, nice one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're great. We had a great show out there. Actually, the Commissioner Louis Marlowe flew out, did the sound.
Yeah.
Got to experience WA. No, Perth got a lot of love in Perth. So they, mates and family rolled through for that one, and that was great. But I still, I need to get some traction going in more Perth shows, more Perth gigs.
Are they feeling it in the mines?
Yeah, I get selfies from people on the diggers and out there on the mines. Videos people sending me in saying it pumps them up, motivates them. So I get sort of videos from all sorts of different people.
Yeah.
Selfies. So people all got their own angle on it, what they get out of it. So yeah.
What about the groupies, man? How do you deal with that?
Mate, it's par for the course, but I just try and look. just going with the flow, enjoying life, mate.
Yeah.
Is what I'll say about that. Yeah,
Not settling down anytime.
not settling down anytime soon, mate. Yeah. But look, you just got to. But look, I'm off the terps these days. I've got a level head about it, to be honest, mate.
Yeah.
You know, I think 10 years ago or something, I wouldn't have handled the success and the glory so well.
Yeah.
I think now I'm a grown man. I realise I see the bigger picture. I really don't get caught up in this bullshit. People say, "Oh, he's wearing his own merch." Strike one. That's a strange. That bloke's got tickets on himself. Wearing sunnies inside in the morning. That's strange. He's got his own stubby holders. That's got his head up his ass. But I'm not. I'm actually a pretty grounded individual. That's for you, by the way.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
People tend to think I'm like, oh, he's out here, like running amok, and he thinks he's the shit and all that. But if you speak to me, I'm pretty down to earth.
For sure.
Because I think if you listen to the album, you come from the full front to back narrative. If you're talking groupies and that, and you hear the narrative on that album. I mean, two consecutive wives faked their own deaths to get away from me, mate.
Crazy.
And that I don't blame them. I'm happy that it would turn out to be fake and that they're still thriving and prospering. But the sort of bloke I was at the time, I was so toxic, mate. Women couldn't really stand me, mate. Or they could for a brief time until the glory wore off and they realised I was lost, mate. I was deluded, and I had these sort of delusions of. I guess I'd call them delusions of grandeur,
Yeah.
Now it's more. I'm still confident. I still back myself, but. Now it's more like convictions of grandeur, but it's different, convictions of certain types of grandeur. I'm good at this. I can back myself in this way, do the music, do the business. Yeah. But at the time, I was just, if you listen to the album, like you said, you listened to it 3 times. That's a pretty psychedelic experience, mate. Yeah, well, like you probably, how'd you feel coming out of that?
Oh, well, because I listened to it the first time by myself.
Yeah.
Waiting for some mates to come over, and I listened to it one time with my mates.
Yeah.
And we're not off the terps, so we were having a few beers.
All right, yeah.
And then we listened to it again with some other mates.
Yeah.
While they were doing some artistic stuff. And I had a different experience each time.
Okay.
Found different parts that I liked.
Okay.
Played them different songs that I was about.
Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
It was good.
What was your favourite song?
Selling Dirt. Is it Selling Dirt?
Dirt for Sale.
Dirt for Sale.
Yeah, okay. That's funny because that's one that I was like, I liked it. I knew it was a strong, I think it's track 3 after the intro, yeah. But it's one that's surprised that people often say that's their favourite.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. It's good.
Yeah, thanks.
But there's a lot of substance there. You could listen to it a lot of times and find some Easter eggs that you probably didn't hear the first time. How many times would you suggest someone listens to it?
Yeah, 7 or 8. You're halfway there. Like, but 3 times in a day is maximum.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go more than that.
Oh, but, you might ruin it. I might fucking just get sick of it.
Just the emotional roller coaster of it, Yeah. Just like, because you're hearing a man at his sort of peak and at his lowest ebbs and sort of come back and again and quickly turn around right in time at the end.
Yeah.
Which sounds like, he cleaned it all up conveniently in the last track. But it's just how it happened, mate. That's how revelations happen. You wake up morning like, I've been a fucking idiot. Yeah. Turn it around. But no, I'm glad you say that. There's a lot of replay value because to me, that's my favourite albums. If I think of my favourite albums, they've all got enormous replay value, and there's still things I'm still discovering in the lyrics. Mm-hmm. Like, back to yourself. What's your favourite hip hop albums? What are they?
Oh man, that's tough. Look, I think 36 Chambers is definitely one that's I think everyone sort of says, and that's because it's good. I really like Doggy Style, man. Like when I heard that as a Year 7 kid, I was like, wow, like this is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I really like Quality Control by fucking Jurassic 5
nice
as well.
one. Yeah.
That's a great album. I always think with albums, what's one that you can listen to start to finish without fucking around with it too much.
Yeah.
What else was there out there that I would be like that sort of thing? How many is that? That's 3.
3 or 4? Yeah,
3 or 4. That might be 4.
You did what? Snoop?
Yep.
Wu-Tang?
Yep.
J5?
J5. Oh, that's only 3.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's tough.
It is tough.
It's hard, but all those albums have little interludes and skits and that sort of thing, which is kind of makes things interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I see that in your artwork.
No, thanks. Yeah, I love the skits, like you're saying. Keep stitching it all together, tying it all together in a cohesive whole. You want to press play, and that's the thing. Yeah, if you bought a CD back in the day, it was an investment, and you hope that if you press play,
You
you're
didn't
going to
want
let
to
it
skip
ride.
those songs.
Because you sometimes you waste your money, or often you would. You'd buy a CD, like you want to buy an album and get into it, and you realise only like 2 songs, and then I'd try and convince myself that I like the other ones. You know,
Yeah.
like I like that one. No, I do like this one. I do like this one.
Often
I
you'd
don't know
like,
if you did that, but
but you'd like ones that played after the song you actually liked because
Yeah.
you heard it fucking by default sort of thing.
yeah, yeah. But if I'm thinking about masterpieces that I revisit, I mean, yeah, you got the ones that everyone says like C.R.A.I.G and that. I'd say,
Can I tell you something though?
yeah,
And this might be because of my growing up and
Yeah.
everything, but I had It Was Written, but I didn't have Illmatic. And
let's talk about it. Let's talk
so
about
I
it.
had my
Yeah, yeah. I love it,
first-
mate. This is what.
my first car, I had the Formula mixtape that my mate gave me.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And I had a dub tape of It Was Written. So I listened to It Was Written front to back all the time.
Mate, let's do it.
And
yeah.
so when people say that, and Illmatic's amazing, and I've got it, it's over there. I've got it. I've listened to it a lot, but I'm personally, It Was Written spoke to me a little bit more.
Wow.
I don't know. That's my take.
Spoke to you a bit more.
I don't know. But maybe I just had it and I listened to it more.
No,
but that's
yeah.
just
I love it, mate, because I'm fascinated by that album. And it's like, I just bought it on vinyl for the first time the other day at C.R.A.I.G's, at Harry's Hip Hop Shop.
Yes.
So shout out to C.R.A.I.G. Got a great selection in there. That was a great day. But It Was Written's an album that fascinates me because and I was listening to the podcast with Steve Stout recently where he talks like he wanted to take Nas to a level commercially
Yep.
that Nas wanted to go to as well. And so it's a funny album. It's a funny album because it's like it's got some really conceptual stuff on there. It's got some more obvious like appeals to the more pop kind of audience.
Yeah.
Not gratuitously. Not
The
gratuitously.
samples had more commercial appeal.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. We had the Sting sample. We had various bigger pop samples. But no, it's a fascinating album because some songs kind of don't work that well. But it's got my favorite Nas song ever is "Take It in Blood," track 6, and that's one I'll just listen to. I'll listen to that to just reset my brain when I've heard a song I don't like. I can't like go to bed with a song I've heard something. I can't just go to bed. I'm like, what if I wake up a different, What if I wake up I can't rap anymore or something because
that song's
or I rap
ruined me.
like this guy. Bit paranoid, but I'll have to reset, and that's one of my reset songs. Nas, Take It in Blood.
Yeah.
But then you got songs like we talked about that one with Dre. It's before the Firm album. It's what Nas Is Coming, and Dre with the intro at the start, and it's like it should be epic, and it kind of is, but maybe it's the mix or something. It's not quite.
After that,
Anyway, I find that it's an amazing album, like you said.
For
It's
sure.
a fascinating one.
for sure. I found after that, then he definitely went down the pop route pretty quick. Not pop, but let's just say more commercial.
Yeah,
And that, how many albums has he had now? Fucking heaps.
yeah. I haven't.
But
kept
that
up.
kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
was the pinnacle for me.
Yeah, so that's or like I gave you power, like incredible. But then the thing, he's got the skit at the start where he's like setting it up for the listener that maybe doesn't get it. It's like
The one about the gun.
yeah, it's like I'm a gun. It's like, did you need to say that bit? I don't know. But like I just, you know what I mean. Like before it starts, like it might have been if you hadn't said that, then we listen and we go, oh, now I get it. Like I used to love her by Common. Maybe you don't get it till the end, and then you realise.
Yeah.
So I find like there's albums I love, and that's a great album. But it's also there's ones that like just endlessly like interest me as a fan of hip hop, as a student of it, and that's sort of one. But like that's one of them. Obviously, Illmatic is just beautifully like as a work of art. But Reasonable Doubt, I often get into arguments with not with Jay-Z, not on that level, mate. Getting there.
Yeah.
I'd like to have an argument with Jay-Z.
About which Jay-Z album's your
Yeah,
favourite?
yeah. But nah.
What one does Jay-Z say is his favourite?
Reasonable Doubt.
Oh, that's what he
Yeah,
says.
yeah. But that's an album I revisit and get a lot out of. But then Redman, huge Redman fan.
Yep.
There is a Dark Side, Muddy Waters. I like your underground stuff. Company Flow, Tupac, huge Tupac fan. Me Against the World.
Yep.
Cormega, The True Meaning. Cormega, The True Meaning is like a hugely underrated classic in my books. The Roots, Things Fall Apart. just listen to albums I love.
Yeah.
But these are all albums that are like 5-course banquets. And that's what I hope I can do. If I can get somewhere near that, then, you know.
They're all
right.
inspiration for you.
They're all inspirations. I'm fucking cold in here, mate. I think I'm still not acclimatised.
No.
You're in a T-shirt. I'm in my own merch.
It is
They're
cold.
going, yeah,
It is cold in
It's
here.
fucking cold, mate.
I know. I spoke to my mate.
I feel like I'm shivering.
I spoke to my mate who did all the electrics for me, and he's like, "Man, do you want to spend $5,000 to put a split system in?" I'm like, "Fuck, not really." So I'm like,
These Victorians just champ it, mate, in the T-shirts, both of you. I'm in my own merch. Made by G from G&H. Thanks, Tom.
Yes.
Square One.
Yeah, he has the merch thing happening.
He's got the merch thing happening, yeah.
WA represent.
Doing his thing, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Talking about some artists, you name dropping a few, you know, just before Jay-Z.
Because I love talking music, mate. We could do like a deep dive on one album. Yeah.
But who are some artists that now that you've made it, who are some artists that you want to work with?
Working with is a funny one because like, and it's not about like I can do it. It's not like I want to do this by myself, and it's not like that. But it's like you've listened to my album. I'm so fucking in my own world with it, you know. Away with the fairies, off in this, you know. Not away with the fairies. That would imply that it's all sort of fantasy and bullshit. I'm speaking. I'm sort of like so absorbed in the moment. Of what I'm doing. I mean, how do I collab with people? Because I got 4-minute outros where I'm just talking shit on the end of a song. You've heard them.
I have.
So no, there's heaps I want to collab with, a lot. But I just like my mate Birdbrain down in Tassie, who's actually fucking huge now. He's hugely successful. He's from Perth. He's from WA. But
Yeah. Oh, he's from WA originally.
yeah, you know of him?
I do. He does the flips of different tracks and makes them. He Aussieifies them.
He's a genius, mate. Like, so I've known him from way back. Like, shout out to Birdbrain. He's an excellent bloke. But he showed me and my mate Paul Wall one morning, and that just sent me on a whole other trajectory of Houston and DJ Screw and all that. So Birdbrain's a legend. Linny. He's a genius business. He's a mastermind, mate. He's always got business ideas for me that I know are good ideas, but I just haven't enacted them. But he had a song that blew up on the Burnout section doing the hilltops, the flip of the hilltops.
Yep.
And so he's such a mastermind of the business. He said, "Okay, that's my lane now." And he's done about 5 or 6 songs that are just about burnouts. He knows his market, and it's fucking working for him. And he loves. It's all real. Like he loves doing burnouts, and he loves Fords. So it's all from the heart. So we've been meaning to get a track together, like at some stage. Who else? Be an honour to do a track with like met by SB at Crave shop the other day. That would be a huge honour. Work with someone like a legend like that, or Crave. Crave, who's a good bloke and a great MC. So there's artists out there I want to work with, and especially production as well, singers.
Yep.
It's just got to come together, and it's sort of like I'm often like enthusiastic about it, but then I'm like, fuck, I always end up rapping for like 7 minutes, or my verse will be 3 minutes, and then I'll, for some whatever reason, talk for 5 minutes on the end of the song. So I was like, how do we, you know?
How do you recreate that live? Because I haven't had the privilege of seeing your live gig yet, but I'll get to the next one.
Yeah.
How do you recreate that?
You're on
live?
the door, mate. How do I recreate that live? That's a good question. Because so so I'm doing generally on this sort of run of tours, I've been doing the full album front to back. Because I'm like, you can take a song out of here and there, out of context. But I was like, let's start at the intro. Let's go back. Full immersive, audio, visual, 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional experience, 5th-dimensional, if you want to think about it on that level. I'm not sure what the 4th or 5th dimension is. You got time, space. What's the third?
I don't know. Third.
What's the third?
Third is
I think space goes in 2 directions or something like that. And time, I don't know. Yeah. The album is a fully immersive front to back, visual, audio, visceral experience. You even feel it. On other intangible levels.
Spiritually.
Yeah, spiritually. So you'll feel like, not to the point where I want you to like get carried away and like do something drastic during it's not going to end. It is going to end. It's only 45 minutes, and this part of the story that's quite dark, it'll come out the other side of the tunnel when it's redemption. Yeah. You know the story already if you've known the album. But anyway, I'm rabbiting on. But the show is I take them on the full front to back theatrical experience, and they get the whole album. But recently, I've been loosening up with it a bit. So at the Perth show, the sound wasn't, the acoustics weren't as good as other recent ones. So I took the initiative of like, I'm just going to run with it and talk more shit between songs. So the part in Christmas Carol where I'm like, you know, harassing the DJ, I'm like, what sort of piss poor DJ are you, mate? You don't have the steel Dre instrumental. What are you talking about, mate? So I actually like got the DJ Rubix, shout out Rubix. He was, you know, he went along with it and all in good faith. I got him to stop the track and I got the crowd into it and I was like, on the count of 3, I got him to chant, what sort of piss poor DJ are you, mate? So they're kind of playing a part of the show.
That's the fifth dimension. They're
Breaking
in the
the fourth wall. That's the fifth dimension. Now we got there. We got there in the end. Yeah, so I sort of got them involved as part of the show, part of the world. And I was like, okay, so I can go off the rails with it a bit, and why not improvise within the framework of the album? Yeah. So you might not know what you're going to get in terms of other things between songs. I might not know what I'm going to do. So that's something I'm playing with more. So you get the album, but you get improvised stuff within it.
But thinking forward, using my fucking, you know, using my brain here just to move forward in time. When you have your second album, how do you do that? You're going to do 2 fucking albums back to back?
2 albums back to back. I might need to. Because otherwise you're like coming in halfway through the second album. Well, people go to movie matinees and that, you know? Yeah. But that's easy for the actors. They don't have to do anything. They don't even know that's happening. It's already been filmed. But if you're they don't have any clue that, I don't know. I wonder if they do on some level. I've thought about that before. This is on a tangent. But if you're filmed on something, does that somehow affect? You know what I mean? That's in a whole other. That's a different level.
I think people that do movies, right, that get into these really dark characters, that's got to mess with your mental a bit. You know,
you've heard history of that. I get that.
Is acting something that Craig wants to get into eventually?
No, not losing my mind through a fucking villainous character. But I mean, I've kind of experienced that in a way, doing my own music. Like it's like a dark song or whatever that's chronicling like a darker part of your life. It's like you got to sort of shake it off and get on with it. But no, that's an interesting point you raised. Should I do 2 album shows? I would like to. If my voice can hold up, I'm up for it.
Should you? And you should probably make the audience pay double for that.
I was going to say they got to pay double. Yeah, they got to pay double. Yeah. Or you got a ticket. Yeah, I got a ticket to the first album. No, I'm not going in second. You know. Yeah. No, we can't do that. We got to do a lock in. You're there for 2 albums. Yeah.
You're not allowed to leave.
No, you're not allowed to leave.
Can't take a piss or anything.
No. That's going to get interesting. Yeah, because I've even got a lyric about that. You know, like, I mean, it's not really. It's a bit of a tangent, but I got that lyric. What's the lyric? Got a lyric about not being able to take a piss. What is it? On Afterlife. Minecraft, my only drug. I ain't moved in months. Got me drinking warm stubbies and pissing into the empty ones. Yeah. When you're that absorbed in something, you can't take that moment to go to the toilet. Use what's around you, you know?
Yeah. You got to think outside the square.
And that's a true story. I remember speaking to a mate of a mate who was like telling us about being that into guitar. Like he was just practicing guitar so much. He was like, and he loved to have a few beers while I was drinking guitar. And he's like, I didn't even get up. I played for 3 hours. I was pissing into this empty stubbies in my lounge room. And I thought, that's ridiculous, mate. Get up and have a piss. But years later, I realised I did the same thing. And it was only after I realised, like, sometimes you're that in the moment. Like right now, mate, I want to have a piss right now. I just had that coffee on the way. But not gone anywhere. We're deep in the podcast.
We're deep, mate. We're just
and enough talk about the toilet. We don't need to, you know.
Mate, we are just about to tick over 1 hour right there.
All right, we're flying.
Do you want to have a piss?
No, let's go with it. Yeah.
You're right.
I'm right. Yeah, okay. I'm just hamming it up.
Time flies though, doesn't it? We've done a solid hour with Craig here.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Is there anything that you want to talk about? Anything you want to get off your chest? Anything you want to set the record straight with?
Set the record straight? No, I feel
there's a lot of rumours flying around. Craig does this,
Craig does this, Craig does that. I hope they're all positive.
A lot of them.
Craig gives back to the community. Craig's a good bloke. That's the sort of ones I hope are flying around. Look, mate, I don't know. Has there anything we haven't really covered? I think we covered most of it. Yeah. Like, I just want to say, you know, just... What do I want to say, mate?
You say it. Just listen to the music.
Just listen to the music, mate, you know? And, I just got nothing but love for the music community and the wider community that, you know, been supporting me. And let's let's have a good life, mate. Let's look on the bright side. Let's move forward positively, and I guess that's my message, mate. Love yourself, love your mates, love everyone around you. If you listen to my whole, when you go through the redemptive arc, it is a positive one. It comes out there in the end. Although my uncle kind of has the outro at the end and kind of disputes all that, but no, basically my message is one of love and positivity. Let's keep moving forward, and I hope to get the new album, new tour on the way, and yeah, let's do it.
Any timelines for the new album or new tour?
New album. I got a lot of beats in the stash, mate. I got a lot of beats in the stash that I've made over the years, and it's funny because sometimes you make a beat and you might, like Louis knows this. We talk about music. He spends days and days and days and weeks on one song. I'm sort of the same with beats. Sometimes like you're chopping a sample. Once again, low grade or entertainment house band, you know.
Correct.
Just get the lawyers off my back. But sometimes you're like trying to get this sample in line with the drums, and when you're that honed in on it, later you can't really hear the difference, but when you're that deep in it, you might be 7 or 8 hours on like a millisecond, mate. You're trying to... So at that moment, you finish with the beat and you're fucking exhausted with it. You don't want to listen to it again. You don't want to, let alone record to it. But then a year or two later, you hear it completely with new context, fresh, and you're like, fuck, I'll write to that. Or this verse that I've now written fits to that. So I got a lot of, long story short, I got a lot of beats in the stash. I got bits and pieces ready for the next album, but at some point I'm going to have to like knuckle down and get that second album recorded, because that's what I want at this stage, mate. This album's getting a bit old for me, mate. Not to like, I probably shouldn't even say that, but to me it's a bit old. So I really want to get the next one cracking, and definitely love to meet new musos on collaborate on the way, and I've met a lot of great musos. Shout out to PS1 up in Brisbane, just did the show with recently.
Yep.
Incredible MC up there.
Big fan base up there.
Yeah, pretty big, mate. They were... The turnout was decent, but they were all there listening. They were listening there intently, which is what I like to see. And I think Queensland's going to catch on, because Queensland's sort of like the WA of the East Coast.
They are. They've got the mining vibe.
Exactly, mate. It's a bit warmer, you know, so I feel like that's going to catch on. But yeah, collaborate with whoever, although I said, you know, I don't write that much, but let's do it. New music. Marie, shout out to Marie. How do you say her last name? It's Greek. Prokos. Shout out to Marie. Not sure how to get the last name completely right. She came through, filmed the gig at Northcote, stellar job, and she's really keen to bring Craig visually, because I haven't done any videos, mate.
No.
Because I always thought, what's the point? It's so visual with the lyricism. But now Marie's coming through. She's got all these ideas to get, you know, some Craig videos under work. So film, TV, sky's the limit. And yeah, huge thanks to Maloney. Thanks for inviting us out and
for sure.
get on the mic in a minute and do a verse or whatever.
Well, that's what I'm looking forward to, man.
Let's do it, mate. Let's do it. Yeah. I might need a piss before that. Just yeah.
All right. Or do you want an empty stubby? I've got.
If you put it in the stubby holder, mate. Yeah, no. We're past all that. It's a bit. No, yeah.
Well, Craig, thanks for coming in, man. I'm keen to get you on the mic, and thanks for the album.
Huge shout out, Maloney. Thank you, mate. 3,000 podcasts. Check it out. You already have if you listen to this.
For sure, man.
Brief History of Bauxite.
Where can people get the album physically still?
Brief History of Bauxite. It's in stores, few stores around town. If you're local, it's in Sydney. Repress Records up in Sydney. Well, we got it in Melbourne. Northside Records. That's an institution.
For sure.
Bandcamp for sure. Felt Sense Recordings, Bandcamp. If you're like, because when I'm traveling around here and there, message me on Instagram, Craig C.R.A.I.G.official. It's now a bit of a rebranding, Craig Official. Message me on Instagram, I'll deliver it to you in person, mate.
Yeah, there you go.
So there you go.
Without no appearance fee or anything, you'll just bring it.
Oh, I got to start factoring that in. Yeah.
Logistics are the big time.
Logistics, yeah. You got to know your worth. But look, the record's out there. We'll repress it. So let's go. Yeah.
Fuck. Craig, you're a fair legend. I appreciate you coming in, man. I'm really keen to get you on some beats. I'm really keen to see what beats you brought in, actually.
2 of my own, so we'll see what vibe I'm in.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, mate.
I thought maybe you might have had one of the classic lean back or Wankster.
I was thinking of that, but then the thing is, can you get them on YouTube, or do they get What have people been doing on your show? Like
There's
the
a
MCs?
mixed bag.
Yeah, okay.
Some people will bring their own stuff, but then other dudes will just be here and go, just type in something, 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 and we just pull it out.
And you can chuck it on YouTube, and it's like, I'll probably go with one of my own, mate, just to keep on that. On that, but yeah.
Well, let's fucking do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Thanks,
Cheers,
Maloney.
man. Thanks for coming.
Huge shout out, Maloney. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks, mate.
3,000.